Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers as Academy, and this is the daily news analysis. Today, as usual, we'll be discussing important articles from UPSC prelims, mains and interview perspective. And the first article for 7th August 2025 is from the Hindu editorial, which is written by the famous Shashi Tharoor. The article reads, or the editorial name reads, Decoding China, the Lessons for a Vulnerable India. Okay, so recently China has done certain initiatives or taken certain initiatives which causes concern to India, which makes India vulnerable. So what are the lessons India can learn, and what is the move, and why is China moving this way? So the article discusses about China's strategic pullout. Recently, over 300 Chinese engineers were exited iPhone 17 plants in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Not routine, but a deliberate attempt to block tech transfer and stall India's rise in electronics. Very important. Okay. Recently, the iPhone industry was set up in Tamil Nadu and in Karnataka, Bengaluru, and most of the engineers from them in those setups were from China. So China, what did they do? They recalled the Chinese engineers. So it is not just a routine; it is nothing but a deliberate attempt to block tech transfer and India's rise in electronics. Next is weaponizing the trade. That is, China is restricting rare earth exports such as gallium and graphite, which is vital for high-tech industries. So recently China put export restrictions on these rare earth elements. So it is nothing but weaponizing the resources. Uses informal trade barriers to slow India's equipment imports and supply chains. Okay, China is doing everything in its hands so that India doesn't become a power in electronic sectors. Domestic drivers of aggression. Why China is moving towards this? Because there are certain domestic drivers such as China's internal issue, that is demographic decline, property crisis and overcapacity. Okay, so China has gone through the demographic dividend and are now suffering from demographic decline. Okay, and other things, recently there was a big news coming from China was the property causes or property issue, that the buildings or the real estate has expanded so much that they are constructing so many buildings, but there are no buyers. You are constructing the buildings and you are trying to provide at a very low cost and as minimum cost as possible, but there is no individual to buy these buildings. So that is also becoming an issue there. And it sees India as a future rival in global manufacturing and exports. So it is doing everything in its hand so that India doesn't become a future rival. And this poses escalation risk for India. And as India rises, China may intensify economic coercion, cyber attacks, military posturing. So India must build strategic resilience and autonomy, and it should not be dependent on China for all these imports and exports. Next, India's internal weaknesses. Okay, what is possible for China? China is doing it in their own way. So in order to avoid these things, India has to bring its own strategic autonomy and certain strategic resilience. However, it is not possible because of India's innate weaknesses in internal matters, such as the manufacturing industry is limited by low infrastructure and corrupt bureaucracy, and import dependence on chips and engines, majorly dependent on China again. Next, Make in India is mostly assembly based and not innovation driven. Though Make in India has been successful in making in India, however, it is making only the assembly, that is all the production is done for somewhere else and they are assembled in India. We are not making innovation driven products. Next is unreliable Western support. Okay, India in order to counter China was relying on Western countries, was relying on USA. However, they are proven to be unreliable because recently and even today USA raised tariffs on India but gave exemptions to China. Okay, how is it possible? Okay, because they said that India is importing from Russia, so we are imposing on India. However, China imports from Russia and China accounts for 50% of Russia's oil, but USA has exempted China from tariff trade. Shows the need for policy independence and not blind alignment. Just today morning, Trump has increased the tariff price from 25 to 50%. So, as the old saying says that you cannot trust America. Okay, like famously Kissinger said that it is good to be America's ally, America's opponent, but it is worse to be America's friend. Okay, that is what they are proving now with respect to India. And then China's global playbook dominates supply chains in AI, 6G, EVs, and quantum. So they already built a certain dynasty there. And then O uses overproduction and price warfare to crush competitors. So they go for anti-dumping. They go for dumping. Okay, they do the mass production and then they start dumping their products into other countries at a cheaper price. Okay, at a cheaper price, which obviously is going to impact the local manufacturing or the local industries like India. Okay, and then the conclusion, we should act and not react. That is, China's aggression is a lesson for India, and Western countries' aggression or Western countries' acts are also a lesson for India. That though China is our adversary, we cannot trust Western countries to come to our aid because they always work on their strategic interest. For them, their strategic interest is the paramount and nothing comes close to that. So therefore, India is on its own and India should focus on tech development, supply chain security, true capacity building, and compete on merit and not on dependency. We should compete with China on our own merit and not dependent on the Western strategic countries. Okay, so this is a very beautiful article and which has provided a very beautiful comparison of US, China, and what India should be doing in the moving forward. Next, there was another editorial which talks about the data, and that is about more women than men deleted from the Bihar's electoral roll. I already discussed about this Bihar's electoral roll in detail. There is special intensive revision happening in Bihar where you are going to revise the electoral roll, and one of the concern was that most of the people will be excluded from the electoral roll because they are either not in Bihar or they are migrant workers and either they do not have the adequate documents. So this has been the news, and recently the special intensive revision, the first phase has ended, and according to this there are some data which poses alarming gender disparity in deletions. That is, 31 lakh women compared to 25 lakh men were deleted in August 2025 rolls. 37 out of 38 districts saw higher female deletions, and Gopalganj had the sharpest gap, 17.8% of women deleted compared to 11% of men. The common explanations fall short. That is, they say that it is mainly because of death, duplicates, and untraceables can't explain the gap, and death rates are gender balanced. Okay, the article says that a major reason behind like higher women gap is because of deaths, because of duplications, or because of untraceables. However, it cannot explain this because deaths are rather gender balanced. It is not like only women are dying, both men and women are also dying. Then why are women more excluded than the men? Next, migration data contradicts the trend. That is, male out immigration far exceeds the female, yet more women are removed, defying the logic. Okay, they say that untraceables or duplicates, they are moving out of Bihar, but according to the data, out of Bihar trend is higher with respect to men. If men are moving out of Bihar in India, moving towards other countries, other states, then obviously the men in Bihar should be very low and women in Bihar should be very high. As a result, men should be more excluded and women should be less excluded, but this is not following here. So that is what it is defying the logic here. And then literacy and enumeration gaps. Female literacy at 55% may have led to form filling errors during the SIR, causing underreporting. So they are saying that it is not the male out of migration, it is not the other issues, it is mainly because of the illiteracy that plagues females. And voting and registration mismatch. In some districts, more women voted, yet more were deleted, showing flaws in verification. So conclusion points to a systematic bias towards against women, urgent need for gender sensitive reforms, doorstep verification, and literacy outreach. So right to vote should also be upheld for both men and women. It should be gender neutral. Okay, though there are already issues with respect to this special interest division, along with addressing those issues, we should also address this particular gender disparity issue. Okay, a very simple article. And third one is, what is the status of recall vote in Taiwan? This is covered in Text and Context of the Hindu. It talks about the status of right to recall or recall vote in Taiwan. So what happened recently? The Taiwan's recall vote on July 26 targeted 24 opposition KMT lawmakers, but none were removed. And the second round targeting 7 more is due on late August. Okay, so recall. Okay, what is recall? Okay, we'll discuss why. Okay, they are talking about why recall. So first we'll understand what is recall. What is recall? So recall is, so in elections, what happens here is you vote an individual. Okay, you vote for individuals. You vote for individuals. As a result, they get elected. Now, there is an option for recall. Under this recall, if you have elected an individual, you also have the right to recall them. You will be voting them again. If you vote them to be recalled, and then the elected candidate will be recalled, and he no longer exists as an elected person. So that is right to recall, or that is recall in the nutshell. However, in this case, even though the right to recall was passed, they were not removed. So we will understand why is the issue. First, we will understand why the recall. That is, the Democratic Progressive Party and the Bluebird movement accused the KMT of blocking bills, undermining national security, and bypassing legislative procedures. The DPP, having lost its legislative majority, hoped to use the recall to regain the control of the parliament. Next, we'll talk about the legal framework. The Recall Act involves 3 stages. One is 1% petition, followed by 10% support and 25% voter turnout in favor of removal. So far, the voter support fell short. That is, the 25% voter were not in favor of the recall, and all the 24 lawmakers were kept in their seats. Okay, so though there was a motion, petition was included, 10% support was there, this 25% voter turnout was not met. As a result, they have been not recalled. If this 25% voter turnout had been met, they would have been recalled, and they no longer exist as the elected members. Political impact. The recall has polarized Taiwanese politics. Critics say that the move was politically driven and not democratically necessary, especially after the KMT's survival in round 1. Okay, this is the issue. Simple thing. Whenever there is a question about citizenship participation in the democracy, or the right to recall or anything in relation to these kind of questions, you can quote Taiwan's right to recall. Okay, in India also there is a right to recall in one of the states, that is Haryana, and not with respect to state legislative assembly or central legislative assembly. In Haryana, there is a right to recall with respect to panchayat elections. Okay, but which has not been properly implemented. That is the secondary case, but at least Haryana went towards right to recall in panchayat elections. Next is about what is the potential of biochar. It is again from the text to context. So first we'll understand what is biochar. Biochar is a carbon-rich charcoal produced from the agricultural and organic municipal waste. It acts as a carbon sink and aids in waste management. Okay, so carbon-rich charcoal, which is produced from agriculture and municipal waste, is called as biochar. Emission reduction potential, the potential of biochar. India can use 30 to 50% of surplus waste to produce 15 to 26 million tons of biochar. This can remove up to 0.1 gigatons of carbon dioxide equal annually. Okay, so byproducts, it results in syngas 8 to 30 million tons and 18 to 13 TWh power, which is going to be 0.5 to 0.7% of India's electricity, and bio oil, which will be around 20 to 40 million tons, which is going to replace 12 to 19 million tons of diesel or kerosene. Obviously, it is going to reduce the import bill. And then the net result, it reduces fossil fuel emission by a total of 2%. So the biochar has a very high potential both in environmental safety and also in energy security of India. Next, multi-sector applications. Okay, the applications of biochar in agriculture. It improves water retention, enhances soil organic carbon, and cuts N2O emissions by 30 to 50%. And then the construction, adding 2 to 5% biochar in concrete improves mechanical strength, enhances heat resistance by 20%, and captures 115 kg carbon dioxide per meter cube of concrete. Very important. And in wastewater treatment, 1 kg of biochar can treat 200 to 500 liters of wastewater, and total demand potential is around 2.5 to 6.3 million tons. And then carbon capture, modified biochar can also absorb carbon dioxide from the industrial exhaust though with lower efficiency than the conventional methods. Despite that, it has applications in agriculture, construction, wastewater treatment, and carbon capture. In agriculture, it reduces the water footprint, or it increases the efficiency, and in construction, it improves mechanical strength, and also it reduces the carbon dioxide emission. And in wastewater treatment, it can help in around 200 to 500 liters of wastewater. And carbon capture, it will also help in capturing the carbon from the exhaust pipes of industry. So the potential of biochar is very high, but the key barrier for adoption is the lack of standardized feedstock markets, weak carbon accounting frameworks, that is poor investor confidence, and limited research and development, market uncertainty and low awareness, and the absence of viable business models and interdepartmental coordination. Okay, so way forward, enabling large scale adoption, create region specific feedstock standards, integrate biochar into crop residue management, urban and rural bioenergy schemes, and also state action plans on climate change. So India has a huge potential in production of biochar, and this biochar has a huge potential and use applications in most of the India's requirements, such as energy, such as agriculture, such as environmental sustainability, and such as wastewater treatment and other things. Okay, so India should move forward in the scaling up of biochar, both in production as well as application. And also it results also focus on village level production units can create 5.2 lakh rural jobs as well. So other potential is about production of jobs as well. And the core benefits include 10 to 25% higher crop yields, 10 to 20% lower fertilizer needs, and soil health restoration. So biochar is a multi-sectoral science-backed solutions. It links climate action with rural development and energy security. Very important, climate action with rural development and energy security. It is not only addressing the climate action, it is also has a two byproducts, that is rural development and energy security. While not a silver bullet, it is crucial for India's net zero ambitions. So very important. Next, moving on to the prelims pointers. First is about Lalit Kala Academy. It was established on 5th August 1954. It was inaugurated by Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, and the status, it is an autonomous body under the Ministry of Culture and statutory authority since 1956. Objective is to promote Indian visual arts, modern, folk, tribal, domestically as well as internationally. Headquarters is at New Delhi with the regional centers in Chennai, Lucknow, Kolkata, Bhubaneswar and Garhi. Functions, it holds exhibitions, cultural exchanges and art documentation and preservation. The event highlight was 64th National Exhibition of Art, inaugurated recently in Delhi, India's most prestigious visual art event, started in 1955. So this was recently inaugurated in Delhi, that is why it is in news. Next is about Pahal scheme. Pahal scheme, it was launched by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Full form is Pratyaksha Hanstantrit Labh. Okay, direct benefit transfer, that is Pratyaksha Hastantrit. Okay, Hastantrit Labh or direct benefit transfer for LPG. Coverage over 17 crore LPG users and world's largest cash transfer program. Key features, consumers pay full LPG price, subsidy is credited directly to the bank account. Okay, next the objective is ensures transparency and prevent diversion, eliminate fake or duplicate connections, improve cylinder availability to genuine users, and offer voluntary subsidy opt-out. Eligibility must be a registered LPG consumer. Annual taxable income should be less than 10 lakh, either self or plus post. Working mechanism is booking. Consumers book at a full price and the subsidy transfer will be after the delivery, and amount is credited via Aadhaar based DBT preferred and non-Aadhaar bank LPG linking directly. Next recent update is over 4 crore fake or inactive connections were deactivated for the scheme. Okay. And the final article or the final point for today is Indri Lamur or Indri Lamur. Lemur. Joint research has for the first time ascertained the composition of the intestinal microbiome of the Indri, a critically endangered lemur only found in northeast of Madagascar, not in India, northeast of Madagascar. About Indri lemur, Indri or Babakato is the local language, is the largest of the surviving lemur species. Okay, scientific name is Indri. A distribution found only in remote parts of northeastern Madagascar, resides in a coastal and mountain rainforest from sea level to 8,800 meter. Features it is 60 to 70 meter long with a rudimentary tail and large hands and feet. The round head has a pointed face and round and furry ears, and Indris have a smooth silky fur covering their whole bodies. The fur is black, white on the head, throat, forearms and buttocks. The relative proportions of white and black is very geographically. In the wild, Indris live between 15 to 18 years, active during the day, thoroughly arboreal, meaning they live their life in the night, and the Indri clings to the trees and climbs in the upright position as it feeds on the leaves, fruits, etc. Conservation status, it is critically endangered. Remember, Indri lemur is not present in India, it is present in northwestern region of Madagascar. Where is Madagascar? Madagascar is on the east coast of Africa. Okay, if this is Africa, the Madagascar is here. Okay, if it is Madagascar, India is here. Okay, Lakshadweep being the closest, then Mauritius. Okay, this is Madagascar. Okay, so these are the articles which I want to discuss here today. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and also click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.